that this Thanksgiving is going to be hard. Thanksgiving is big. I love Thanksgiving. Traditionally, it was with Rebecca's parents, and all of the family came, Jewish and non-Jewish family alike. This was the holiday where everyone would come together. We would all squish in to her parents' living room. There was a long table and lots of tushies to fit around all of the card tables that would be added. Everyone's dietary needs were addressed: kosher, not kosher, vegetarian, and all of the proclivities that people would have about meals and food these days. Rebecca's mom opened every Thanksgiving with a talk, sort of a blessing for the family. And she frequently added a poem to it as well. That this year is different, that this will be the second Thanksgiving since Carol passed away, that the family will Zoom together rather than to squish in together. And we are all just so tired. We have been holding it together for so long for so many other people. Each of us have been holding it together in so many ways. And while there is tangible progress on vaccines, it is all over the news that we need to hold it together for another 6 or 7 or 8 months more. But we are depleted in so many ways, emotionally and spiritually, financially. For many, we're depleted. There's a meme that I saw. It was a quote, no idea who it was a quote from, but the words still resonated. Sometimes you don't realize you are drowning when you're trying to be everyone else's anchor. Sometimes you don't realize you are drowning when you're trying to be everyone else's anchor. We're our anchors for our kids or our grandkids. We try to be the anchor at work, holding it together with all the screens that we have to have in our life for our own work or others, to be the anchor as parents or for other family members. When you're trying to be the anchor for everyone, you don't realize that you're drowning in a sense of isolation from each other. The relentlessness that COVID is having on us. The fact that we are living, it is actually dangerous. It is not an abstract danger, it is actually dangerous. We are drowning with the continual assault on truth. And just the sense that the other shoe is impending, it is going to drop, whatever that might be. And so many other things that make us feeling as if we are drowning. And so when we look at our glass, is it half full or is it half empty? The answer is yes. Maybe it's both. That there are days that I wake up in a funk. I'm unmotivated, I'm irritable. It's just simply a funk. And I've learned to accept those days. If it's rolled into 2 or 3 days, then I would be concerned. But an occasional day of funk it's COVID. So I've learned to be generous with myself. And I've learned to be kind with myself and with others. Because there's also, the opposite is also true. On some days I feel like I'm handling it all. I've got it under control. I am productive. I am healthy. But most days, to be honest, I'm sort of in the middle. I haven't improved my guitar playing. I haven't baked any sourdough during the COVID. I haven't learned Swahili or any other foreign language. All of these incredible things that people are doing. Of course, it is the bias of social media where it looks like everyone else are doing all of these exotic things. But I'm okay with not doing any of those things. But this Thanksgiving will be hard. In the US, over 255,000 people have died from COVID. 12 million cases only in America. And here in Montgomery County, almost 1,000 deaths in our own community, right here in Montgomery County. It's easy to feel half empty. It is easy this Thanksgiving to think of all of the things that I'm not going to have. I am not going to be with family. I'm not going to travel to be with the people that I love, the extended group of people that I love. There are two verses that help me at a moment like this. They're both from Psalms. One is from Psalm 34. It says, Karov Hashem l'nishvarei lev. The God is near the brokenhearted. I like this idea. I like this idea from over 2,000 years ago, one that the psalmist also experienced the brokenheartedness of life. I have no idea what caused the psalmist to write this, but in that moment of feeling isolated, in that moment of feeling that his glass was half empty, the psalmist wrote this verse. God is near the brokenhearted. Maybe God will be near me as well. Or from Psalm 147, God heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. Again, a recognition from millennia ago that in life there not only is wonderful things, but there is also brokenheartedness and pain and healing. It is beautiful. But what if you don't know what you think about God? These verses may not be helpful to you. Now, we're all stuck in these old images of a God as an old man on a cloud, and that just doesn't work. We know too much about life. We know too much. We are stuck in our theological mind on a metaphor, on an image that was useful when we were a little kid, but as the rest of us matured, meaning the other parts of our identity matured, that sense of what God is may not have. It is a problem that not enough rabbis that we've come across, or ministers or preachers, or just people that are engaged in the faithful life, haven't helped us advance our thinking, our metaphors, our images of what God might be. Because God is not an old man sitting on a cloud. God is something far different. And so if you doubt what God is, then let's create a different image of what God might be. Maybe there's a force that is greater than you. Maybe there's an energy or an intention beyond your individual self. And that works just as well. It might even work better than the image of the guy on the cloud. Could you have a space within your life for God to be less defined? Could it be a broader understanding of what God is? So that whereas the psalmist talks about God is near to the brokenhearted, fill in a different word for God. There are over 100 different names for God, metaphors for God throughout rabbinic literature. And yet, in most of our religious education, we have honed in on just a few, and they may work, but they may not work for us. So what is a different metaphor for God that we can use? A different gender or no gender of God? We recognize that God is beyond all of these things. And so simply a traditional name of God sort of sees beyond all of this, and it is simply Hashem, the name. No gender, no real description of God's strength or anger or love or compassion, all of those different characteristics. Simply Hashem, simply the name. So if we were to read the verses again with that in mind, Hashem is near the brokenhearted. Hashem heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. Maybe that carves out an opening for us to feel the connection and to feel a love or a energy that we've been closed off to before. So do we have a space in our life on those half-empty days? This week I will give thanks because it is Thanksgiving. I'll give thanks for friends and for family and for health and for community and for the work that I am blessed to do. And I will give thanks because I recognize how all of that is so fragile. Some of these things are fragile. I will not take it for granted because I know that I am not entitled to them. I'm fortunate. I am thankful for them. So this year, we will not be squished around the table, but I know we will be squished around the Zoom screen, and I will be fine with that in this year. Because maybe my glass is half empty, but I also know that it's 3/4 full. Shabbat Shalom, and happy Thanksgiving.